Hello, FBCA community. I trust you're doing well, and I wanted to take a moment to share with you some information about our standardized testing with MAP that we give in grades K through 8. In another video, I want to talk a little bit more about the accreditation project this year, but I wanted you to know that our accreditation agency requires us to follow best practices of using data to inform and to drive our instruction. And we've been conducting a lot of analysis of the information from our assessment tools during our teacher in-service, and it really has helped us to identify the strengths and the weaknesses in the curriculum and really provide a better educational academic experience for your child. So previously, the school was using the Stanford Achievement Test for its standardized testing. And a couple of years ago, we looked very carefully at this test and we had some concerns. First of all, the information often would arrive at the end of the school year after the students had left, and it would make it difficult to really analyze it and use it and improve our instruction. Secondly, the information on the Stanford Achievement Test that we have was norm referenced over 10 years ago, and the data was not current and valid like we had wanted. And then third, when we called the Stanford Achievement Test company and tried to access reports that could be used to analyze the data, there was no really helpful analysis tool. Only the PDFs were available, and that didn't allow us to do some in-depth longitudinal type analysis. So when we started thinking what other options would be helpful to us, we looked at the MAP test. And what we liked about the MAP test is that it was used nationally, and it could give current, accurate data that would be helpful to us. It could be given in short, typically 45-minute segments, 3 times throughout the year. In contrast to, remember, we used to take a whole week to do achievement testing there at the end of the year. This is much more convenient. And then the reports and the information are available almost instantaneously once the tests are concluded. Then the other thing that we liked about the MAP test is that the data could be easily analyzed and manipulated, and there are so many reports that we can do to garner data from that testing that we felt like this could be a really, really helpful tool. Also, what we like about it is that the information from the MAP was able to be used in a formative as well as in a summative manner. And what I mean by that is when we got the information from MAP back during the year, we could identify students that needed help in various areas and bring them in for tutoring. In contrast to with the other tests, you would get it at the end of the school year and it would almost be too late. Whereas now, when we gather information at multiple periods along the way in the year, we're able to get a better idea of exactly where students are, where their deficits are, and conduct some tutoring. And as well, we can inform our teaching. For example, if a teacher sees that all the class is performing either extremely well or extremely low in a particular area, then the teacher can adjust their teaching to give better results for the students and really give them a better academic experience. Also, it provides information to teachers to see where their overall instruction was strong and where it was weak for the entire class, and allows us to use data to drive instructional decisions. In conclusion, there's a few things I want us to remember about the MAP testing. First of all, it's just one indicator of student performance in the classroom. Please understand, we're not using the MAP test in order to teach to the test, or we don't do it as far as high stakes testing. We don't look at the results and use those to determine whether or not a student is able to progress up to the next grade level. These tests are intended to be taken along with several other pieces of information to inform our instruction and improve so that we give the best experience for your child possible. Now, if your student did worse than you expected, please understand that sometimes it's due to testing anxiety. Sometimes it's due to the student having a bad day, feeling sick on that particular day. So if your results aren't necessarily what you expected, please understand that there's a number of factors that could have impacted that. Another thing, when you see the results, there'll be a sheet, a guide along with it that will explain the meaning of the test results, but it can be kind of confusing because you're going to be given a percentile rank. Please know that any percentile in the 50th percentile and above is really good. If you get a 50 on a test, for example, here at FBCA, you know that's failing. But if you are in the 50th percentile, what that means is that you scored, or your child scored, as good or better than 50% of the students that took the test. So for example, if your child is in the 70th percentile, that means that they did as good or better than 70% of the students that took that test. So they did screaming well in that particular area. So please don't be confused by those numbers that you get. Also, you're going to see a number for, actually it's average or low average or above average for the growth section. And if your student comes home and they have average in the growth section, all that means is that the student achieved the amount of growth that was anticipated for that particular course of study. One more feature I think that's important for all of us to understand with the MAP testing is that this test is so smart that it's what's called adaptive testing. So in other words, your child will answer a question. If they answer it correctly, the test will ask them sometimes a question that is significantly beyond what they will know at that point in their educational career. And since we're not using this test to determine if the student progresses to the next grade level or not, if the child doesn't know the answer to the question, that's okay, because what it's trying to assess is where is the student exactly in their continuum of learning, and it informs the teacher about readiness of that student's knowledge base and where I can take them and where they currently are. So if a student sees a question that they don't even understand and they answer that incorrectly, then the test moves down to try to discern what level that student is at by giving them an easier question. So by doing it that way, it really helps us get a good indicator where each individual student is at in their learning continuum, and allows us to differentiate the instruction for the student. So those things I think are very important. I hope that this explanation was very helpful for you in understanding why we're doing the MAP testing, how it helps us improve the education, and thank you for your support.